Welcome to Spiritual Calisthenics.
Christ is in our midst. Today, on Thursday, August 31st, we commemorate the placing of the Honorable Sash of the Most Holy Theotokos, St. Cyprian, the Hieromartyr and Bishop of Carthage, St. Gennadius, Scholarus, Patriarch of Constantinople, St. Aidan, Bishop of Lindisfarne, St. Aidan, Abbess of Folkestone, and St. Cuthburga, the Queen, Abbess of Winborne. Regarding the placing of the Venerable Belt of the Holy Theotokos, the placing of the Venerable Belt of the Most Holy Theotokos in a church of Constantinople's Cassiopeia district took place during the reign of Emperor Theodosius the Younger. Before this, the holy relic, entrusted to the Apostle Thomas by the Mother of God herself, was kept by pious Christians at Jerusalem after her dormition. For those that do not remember, when the Virgin Mary passed away, all of the disciples were brought in a cloud to Gethsemane for her funeral, with the exception of St. Thomas. St. Thomas was brought 3 days later, and on his way he encountered her in the sky, and she gave him her belt as a sign that she no longer needed it. Belts during the time of Christ, and even up till about 100 years ago, were critical in long journeys, because they not only girded your strength, your stomach in, but they were basically a sign for travel, that they were hiking everything up so that you would be ready to go. Girding yourself, as it were, hence the term girdle. During the reign of Emperor Leo the Wise, his wife Zoe was afflicted with an unclean spirit, and he prayed that God would heal her. The empress had a vision that she would be healed of her infirmity if the belt of the Mother of God were placed upon her. The emperor then asked the Patriarch to open the coffer. The Patriarch removed the seal and opened the coffer in which the relic was kept, and the belt of the Mother of God appeared completely whole and undamaged by time. According to tradition, this belt was made by the Virgin Mary herself. It was made out of camel hair. The Patriarch placed the belt on the sick empress, and immediately she was freed from her infirmity. They sang hymns of thanksgiving to the Most Holy Theotokos. Then they placed the venerable belt back in the coffer and resealed it. According to tradition, however, the empress, because she was healed, sewed gold threads into the belt itself. In commemoration of the miraculous occurrence and the twofold placing of the Venerable Belt, the feast of the placing of the Venerable Belt of the Most Holy Theotokos was established. Parts of the Holy Belt are in Vatopedi Monastery in Mount Athos, in Trier Monastery, and in Georgia. This is the belt that when you go to Vatopedi Monastery, you'll see that the monks will place what looks like a shoelace over the belt, and then they will wrap that up, and then they will send that to people all over the world. And many times women that are trying to conceive will wrap that shoelace belt around their bellies in the hopes that the Virgin Mary will bless them with children. Ever Virgin Theotokos, protectress of mankind, you have given your people a powerful legacy, the robe and sash of your most honored body, which remained incorrupt through your seedless childbearing. For though through time and nature are renewed, therefore we implore you, grant peace to your people and to our souls great mercy. Today your flock celebrates the enshrinement of your precious sash, and it earnestly cries out to you, Rejoice, O Virgin, boast of all Christians. Regarding St. Cyprian the Hieromartyr and Bishop of Carthage. St. Cyprian was born of pagan parents in Carthage of Roman Africa about the year 190. An eloquent teacher of rhetoric, that is, he was good at arguing and speeches, he was converted and baptized late in life, and his conversion from a proud man of learning to a humble servant of Christ was complete. He sold his great possessions and gave them to the poor. Because of his zeal and virtue, was ordained presbyter in 247, then Bishop of Carthage in 248. He was especially steadfast in defending the sanctity and uniqueness of the baptism of the Church of Christ against the confusion of those who would allow some validity to the ministrations of heretics. His writings continue to guide the Church even in our own day. Having survived the persecution of Decius about the year 250, he was beheaded in confession of the faith during the persecution of Valerian in 258. On September 14th, that day being the feast of the exaltation of the Holy Cross, his feast is kept today. Guide of orthodoxy, teacher of piety and holiness, a luminary of Carthage, God-inspired adornment of confessors, O wise Cyprian, by thy teachings thou hast enlightened all. O harp of the Spirit, intercede with Christ God that our souls be saved. We honor thee, O Cyprian, as a true shepherd, who with thy sacred words and divinely wise doctrines has shown us the boundary stones marking out the Church of Christ. even unto death didst thou bear witness with courage. Wherefore we extol thee as a hierarch and martyr, entreat that we all be saved. The readings are according to the feast. From St. Paul's letter to the Hebrews. Brethren, the first covenant had regulations for worship and an earthly sanctuary. For a tent was prepared, the outer one, in which were the lampstand, and the table, and the bread of the presence. It is called the holy place. Behind the second curtain stood a tent called the Holy of Holies, having the golden altar of incense, and the Ark of the Covenant covered on all sides with gold. The Ark of the Covenant is that golden box that supposedly held inside it the 10 Commandments that were entrusted to Moses in the 2 tablets, the manna from heaven, the bread that came from heaven that fed the Israelites, and the staff of Aaron that budded with flowers, even though the staff was dead, which contained a golden urn holding the manna and Aaron's rod that budded, and the tables of the covenant above it, with a cherubim of glory overshadowing the mercy seat. Of these things we cannot now speak in detail. The preparations having thus been made, the priests go continually in the outer tent, performing their ritual duties. But into the second, only the high priest goes, and he but once a year, and not without taking blood, which he offers for himself and for the heirs of the people. Meaning that only once a year was anyone allowed to go in there. And when Zacharias, the father of John the Baptist, took the Virgin Mary when she was 3 years old, he placed her on that in the Holy of Holies, because the Virgin Mary is the Holy of Holies. This is one of the reasons why you see the platitude of the Virgin Mary sitting, because she is the new Ark of the Covenant, because the laws are Christ. Christ is the lawgiver. The manna, the bread from heaven, Christ is the bread of life. And the rod that budded is Christ, who, though he was dead, he rises and lives again. Now, this is important for the Feast of the Virgin Mary, because all of her work, and as we're going to see throughout the life of the Virgin Mary, that she worked hard to keep and honor the Word of God, not just in protecting her son, but in also following all of the commandments of God. From the Gospel according to St. Luke. At that time Jesus entered a village, and a woman called Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and went to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve you alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. Now, this is important because on this feast, the feast of the cincture, the sash, the belt of the Theotokos, belts, as I said, are for working, they're for labor. And Martha is certainly laboring, but blind labor for the sake of a task is not in and of itself good. This is why Jesus Christ continues and says, one thing is needful. Mary has chosen the good portion which shall not be taken away from her. In other words, our work has to have a purpose. It has to be glorifying God. It has to be serving other people in a way that is going to edify and help. As he said this, a woman in the crowd raised her voice and said to him, Blessed is the womb that bore you and the breast that you sucked, giving honor to the Virgin Mary, to the Mother of God. But he said, Yes. Blessed rather are those who hear the word of God and keep it. So yes, the Virgin Mary is honored because she bore the Mother of God, but her work, as the belt symbolizes, is what makes her important, because she heard the word of God, not just because she had the word of God in her, but in her heart, in her soul, and she kept it. The word philika means to guard, to protect. It's not just a mother protecting her child, but protecting the laws of God and serving diligently. This is why she is not just Christ's mother, but our mother too, and why we love her.
I hope that you've enjoyed today's spiritual calisthenics. Have a blessed and wonderful day.